right now is, of course, Robert Reyes. There's that interference oftentimes with these storms, that connection issue. What he was talking about is the fury of Melissa. We're going to effort to kind of reconnect with them if we can. I just want to show you the wind forecast from where we stand right now over the next 24 hours. Notice that wind gusts, they have now shifted a different direction. It's coming derived out of the southwest. That's why he's on the backside of this system. And you see the gusts are still 70 plus. Hurricane force winds are still being felt where Robert is on the northern side of Jamaica. I will say this, because of the direction of the wind, the storm surge does not seem to be the threat now for the northern side of the island. Notice this, though, as we start to see maybe people get out to look at the damage either later tonight or hopefully tomorrow when we get some of that daylight. There's still going to be active rain tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. We have some new video that we want to show you.
The world and Jamaican officials and first responders. Wow. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you could hear that glass shatter. That is significant what just fell over there. My God. But this is why we're doing this. And at some point, if this continues, we're going to have to move.
All right. So that was earlier, roughly about a half hour ago, where you could hear that moment where the glass gets blown out. And the concern Robert had, you have to have your head on a swivel. That's why he has all that protective gear. We're going to continue to show you some of the visuals, not only from Robert's location, but throughout all of Jamaica as we continue to look at some of these impacts that are coming in. I think it's important to note, though, that this is only the beginning chapter. Notice the cone. It is a Category 4. It still has at least a couple hours over warm water, looking at another 6 hours, and then the potential for this to intensify and impact eastern Cuba. So that's what we want to do now, is kind of bring that awareness ahead to what Cuba can expect. We are expecting landfall to be overnight, roughly noon or midnight to anywhere in 2 a.m. Here's some of those visuals from Monday, where you're looking at, of course, families that are preparing. You see small children, of course, that are just trying to figure out what's going on. They're probably feeling that tension, of course, as everybody prepares. Another thing to know, this just coming in at the top of our show, Haiti has actually canceled school for tomorrow in preparation of Melissa. So yes, Haiti, which took the initial impacts before this intensified to the absolute monster that it is, now is getting a secondary impact. It just shows you how, as this fans out and now starts to carve its way to the east, there are still areas here that are going to be impacted, but it's really towards Guantanamo, Santiago de Cuba, and those spots on the southern shores that are bracing for the worst of it, and absolutely at the worst time frame. Overnight, you don't have the vantage point, of course, of seeing anything that's unfolding in front of you. You don't know how high the water is rising in those areas. This is an extremely mountainous portion of Cuba, where you could have 6,000 to 7,000 foot mountains, and then it moves into the Bahamas tomorrow into Thursday. The jet stream starts to get impacted and sweeps this up, and you'll see this acceleration while you only see one bar on the cone, and then we get to Bermuda. And by the way, we have Mike Seidel that is going to be in this as well. He's going to join our coverage starting tomorrow for Bermuda. But there's a lot of focus on Cuba. We had hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. He was on earlier to stress the expected impacts and how significant it could be. Take a listen to what Brian had to say.
Santiago de Cuba, which is a major city, and of course at Guantanamo, U.S. interests at Guantanamo. Hopefully everybody is hunkered down there, because this is going to be a significant hurricane hit, but there is high ground on those islands. The Bahamians know how to deal with it, but still it is going to be a significant storm.
All right, good insight from Brian. Let's dive deeper into this. Okay, so this is the Fox weather model, and you have future radar. We're starting off really in the next hour. Look how tightly wound this is again. The black bars, the pressure millibar, the closer they are together, the stronger the wind field. You're looking at another healthy core that's coming back and reemerging north of Jamaica. It's a small strip of water, but it's in the mid to upper 80s. It's fueling it yet again. So a high-end Cat 4, can't rule out maybe something greater than that. Notice the timestamp now. It's already moved inland, and it's 3 a.m. Now, this is one model of many iterations, but it gives you the window of time from midnight to about 2 to 3 a.m. is expected landfall. And thankfully, The difference between this for Cuba than for Jamaica is the speed at which it decides to get out of here. Jamaica has been dealing with this for a significant amount of time, days, right? We're looking at by tomorrow afternoon, this is now over the Bahamas, releasing out of Cuba by Wednesday evening, and then you're watching this speed even further because of the jet stream interaction. Now, because of that speed that it's moving, hopefully it limits that amount of time that it can squeeze out rain. But as we just talked about, the mountainous areas, orographic lift, tropical moisture, and a powerful storm, still looking at 2 to potentially 3 feet of rain for these areas just outside of Santiago de Cuba, Bayamo, and those areas that you are seeing in central Cuba for overnight. So we're going to dive more into that, of course, as we continue to track Melissa. Fox Weather, we are your Hurricane HQ, Jamaica's worst hurricane on record, still leaving some catastrophic impacts. Up next, I'll be speaking with one couple stuck on the island as they hunker down to ride it out. Plus, bringing it back stateside, keeping eyes on Texas and Louisiana.
Vistaprint prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can gift it, work in it, and take it. Whether it's one of a kind or one for your whole team, if you need it, we print it with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research, American Heart Association, saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor.
Dexcom G7 is one of the easiest ways to take better control of your diabetes. This small wearable replaces finger sticks, lowers A1C, and it's covered by Medicare.
Not managing your diabetes really affects your health for the future. The older you get, the more complications you're going to see.
I knew I couldn't ignore my diabetes anymore because it was causing my eyesight to go bad.
For my patients, getting on Dexcom G7 is the biggest eye-opener they've ever had.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. This small wearable sends my glucose numbers right to my phone or my receiver. With just a glance, I can see if I'm going high, low, or steady, so I can make quick decisions in the moment.
Now I'm a superstar.
Never been lower.
No other CGM system is more affordable for Medicare patients than Dexcom G7. Don't wait. Call now and talk to a real person.
And welcome back to Fox Weather Live. Melissa is breaking records. We have seen that there are so many superlatives to be attached to this storm, and we want to go over some of those records that you may hear and that you have seen. These are the storms that have made landfall in Jamaica since 1988. And what's important about this is really when Robert was out days ahead of time, many of them equated it to this, right? Gilbert, 1988, was a very powerful storm. It's the strongest one they ever had. You could see that intensification as it moved just outside of Kingston, and it was a Cat 4 at that time frame. Well, today, now we have a different, strongest storm to ever hit Jamaica. As you look at this area where it's a Cat 5 for Melissa, the rapid intensification, but a reminder, this actually was beyond just that threshold of barely getting to a Cat 5. Notice this, 185 mile per hour winds. That ties the strongest Atlantic hurricanes at landfall in recorded history. How far back you have to go to? Well, you got Dorian back in 2019 or Labor Day in 1935. What's important about this, though, is the nuance not only to the wind, because remember, with this, that's going to be how it's categorized on the Saffir-Simpson scale, but there's other aspects to it as well. We'll get to the pressure millibar here in a moment. When you look at the wind speed, and with these years, these are the top Atlantic hurricanes. By the way, this is not speaking of just landfall. We just showed you the ones at landfall. At times, they can strengthen over water, and they reach that threshold like Allen back in 19. But you'll notice, for number 2, strong to ever form in the Atlantic basin. It was in the Caribbean. And then you go to that pressure millibar, which was impressive as it dipped to 892. Last night, when we were talking, I did this segment, The Record Bender, and it was at 906. And it was the lowest that this pressure millibar had ever gotten this late in the season. Now, you're talking about 24 hours later, or really 12 hours later, it dipped to 892. So not only did it make the list for the lowest pressure millibar, but how late in the season. And by the way, a reminder, this area of the Caribbean, or really of the Atlantic basin, has seen no activity all season long, and they have this absolute monster that form. So we'll be talking more about the nuances of this, but how does that data and those superlatives translate to the actual ground? We dedicate to give you the ground truth. And here we have Fox Weather correspondent Robert Ray, who's been in the thick of it really all day long, and he starts us off in St. Anne Parish again. Robert, we know it's chaotic out there. Kind of walk us through, my friend, again, what you're experiencing.
Steve, brutal conditions right now. Absolutely intense hurricane force winds whipping through here as we are losing light. We have darkness, and you know, we may lose signal here shortly. I know we did earlier moments ago with you, and that's what happens when you have incredible winds like this and driving rain. It feels like BBs on the face. Structures are falling apart around us. Unfortunately, the second floor of the home that we're in, glass doors completely shattered, windows gone. It is dangerous. We have wind whipping through the structure now, unfortunately, as so many buildings are like that. And yet the worst of these conditions are to the west of us and to southwest, obviously, with the landfall that came in earlier, 185 mile an hour winds, Cat 5, and then moving up into the Montego Bay area, which is about 50 miles to the west of us. Roads are going to be impassable if they're not already. We haven't been able to see it, but some of the video we've been able to see on social media and through Fox Weather is not good. So many of those resorts, over 25,000 tourists stuck, stranded inside those resorts with no power and no cell phone service. And there's got to be a lot of fear going on. Shelters across Jamaica, we are told there are 800 of them open, but only about nearly 400 of them have people, about 6.
And again, Robert doing his best to keep us informed and, of course, try to keep that signal up. What's important for everybody with this is when you look at a storm like this, just because it's lifted north of Robert, counterclockwise rotation still brings in the backside of this where you have hurricane force winds. So everywhere that you see in that reddish to orange color, that is where you're still getting the wind gusts 75 miles per hour if greater. You could hear that in Robert's shot. And that means they're still battling the core of Melissa, which likely could be even strengthening again because it's over warm water. So just because it's left Jamaica, it truly hasn't left because the system is so large and powerful. Another component to this is the safety for Robert. At times, we've had to pull him inside. You saw and you heard the video before where the glass shattered, and there are things that you can prepare for which is staying inside the structure. And then there's that moment where there could be debris. And you take that opportunity to get back inside and figure out, okay, what is going to be safe? So this is going to be something that's very fluid tonight. As you're with us on Fox Weather, we are efforting to get you video from Jamaica. From what we have known out of the latest, we do have video we can show you. And then at times, bringing you those live elements, not only of the powerful winds, but when does it start to improve for those areas as well? Notice St. Ann Parish, that's highlighted. That is where Robert's at. If you look just to on the left-hand side or on the western side of Jamaica, there's Montego Bay. Montego Bay is where we have a couple that's from Oklahoma that had a vacation there, and they were trying to return back, and they effectively got trapped, and they've been hunkered down. Now, we've been talking to them throughout the day. Then they lost power. We lost communication. Then we were talking to them again, and we're efforting to get their story to you as well, because it's one thing to battle out a storm and you're in familiar territory and maybe a little bit more comfortable. It's another one when you're, in a place that you're unfamiliar with and you're talking about a historic storm. A reminder, Melissa is for the strongest landfalling hurricane in history. So you can imagine how concerning this would be for those in Jamaica. But it doesn't stop there. Let's continue the conversation about where it goes next, because we talked about, obviously, it's going to hit Cuba overnight tonight. Then it goes into areas like the Bahamas. And then this is a good question from Kim. This comes from Peoria, where it says, is it possible for Melissa to re-strengthen before Bermuda? So let's go through that process. And if you want to ask us some questions, you can go over to foxweather.com/connect. At times, we'll have the QR code on our screen, and you can scan that to get us the question. So let's look at the overall path of this in the forecasted cone. By the way, we have Robert in Jamaica, as you saw. We do have Mike Seidel that will be joining us starting tomorrow from Bermuda. So we'll have live coverage for you. As you'll look here, it's 145-mile-per-hour winds right now, likely by Thursday, now weakening down to a Cat 2, but still a powerful storm. What's important about that, did you notice the shape of the cone and how narrow this is? And when you bring out the spaghetti plot, why there's a lot of confidence on where it's going to go. That's because it's now guided by the jet stream. So, Kim, to answer your question, when you're talking about the strengthening, there's different components of this. Not me evading the question. It's the component of, as a tropical system, I don't think it's going to strengthen. But because it's accelerating because of the jet stream and it's moving faster towards the northeast, there's still going to be major impacts for Bermuda. So when you look at Bermuda, likely to be north of there, but the dirty side of the storm is the right front quadrant. It's moving to the northeast, so they are smack dab in the right front quadrant, and why you see a 90% chance of tropical storm force winds, if not greater. Mike Seidel will be there to verify.
With ComEd's Business Energy Analyzer, it's never been easier to identify energy savings opportunities for your business. Using your business's energy usage data, the tool pinpoints high use periods and suggests strategies to help you save. Take control of your facility's energy usage today at ComEd.com/manage costs.
Category 2. Something else we're going to talk about later in our show is this tongue of moisture that rides from the western Atlantic to the north, combines with this low that's moving over the Great. Will have impact for Halloween, but what type of influence will that have for the New England region? We'll dive deeper into our show about that, but you'll notice as it moves to the North Atlantic, even this late into the season, you're looking at a Category 2 storm. So timing it out for Bermuda, you can see it emerges on the screen by Thursday evening, starts to come in. Again, it's overnight into Friday, and then Friday morning is when it goes passing by. Bermuda's timing, we've talked about this in recent storms. You're not looking at a direct landfall, but even if you're on the eastern side of that and it curls around the island, you are on the dirty side, the worst side of the storm, and something that we'll be watching for. Kim, though, with your question, I know you're looking and strengthening before Bermuda. Before we even get to Bermuda, we have to worry about Cuba. And my concern tonight is how strong does it get over that narrow area of water from Jamaica to Cuba? Because right now, we have seen that explosive process where it can re-strengthen, but there's that wind field as it moves past Bermuda late Thursday into Friday morning. All right, Melissa, of course, is still tearing through Jamaica as we speak. Visibility dangerously low during the worst of it. Look at this, Montego Bay, Jamaica. You wouldn't know where it was until you see that boat. You can see the violence there. More on what's to come in the Caribbean and beyond when we return. Stick around.
Have you compared your Medicare plan recently? With eHealth, you can compare Medicare plans side by side for free. So we invited people to give eHealth a try and discover how easy it can be to find your Medicare match.
This is pretty amazing.
I can go on a vacation with this money.
I have quite a few prescriptions.
That's why people call us. We're going to compare plans, and I'm going to try to get you as much bang for your buck as possible.
That's great.
Here covers all your prescriptions, your doctors as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I have a hard time with this.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Based on our conversation today, I would highly recommend this plan.
You're so helpful. You don't know.
I'm excited for you, sir. Again, my name is Cham. If you have any other questions, give me a ring.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, that was super easy.
See how your Medicare plan stacks up with the big changes for 2026. Just call this number or get started at ehealth.com. Compare plans that cover your doctors, prescriptions, pharmacy, and budget. And compare plans from the nation's top insurance companies. They pay us to help you. How much do you think you'll be able to save using eHealth?
At